you're gonna go against your party, I mean, even Thomas Massie, who's kind of in the same cut from the same cloth of Ron Paul in many regards, he's kind of this happy warrior. He still has a sense of defiance that belies his smiling demeanor. You know, he's obviously very courageous. So I think that's what we need. We need more people like that. And, you know, from my own vantage point, I just get very frustrated that like there's only Thomas Massie and MTG, and then there's 200 plus other scumbags as far as I'm concerned. And that's not going to make me any friends if I do end up running saying that, but it's the truth. Like none of these people actually represent America or Americans or America first at all. They're spending us into oblivion. They don't give a damn about the American people. They don't give a damn about justice. I mean, the fact that I don't know if you guys agree with this assessment. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But I strongly believe that the Russian collusion was an attempt to basically soft coup Trump out of power. And
1,000%.
And there'll be no justice for that. I mean, you have this report by Tulsi, the DNI,
Jen, we'll discuss this. I'll pull this up. Even though I think it's a distraction, but it doesn't mean it's not true. That's right. The difference. They're definitely doing that to distract from Epstein and Israel right now. But there is no question that is, Colin, I don't know if you have it, but I'll grab it. But, you know, continue.
Yeah, but the point I'm making with it is like, that is a big deal, you know, and even on the right, most people don't expect there to be any sort of prosecutions, even though Donald Trump was facing hundreds of years in prison. You have these people that committed like arguably treason. I mean, according to Tulsi Gabbard, they committed treason. And everybody's expectation is like, they're not going to face prosecution. Then you have the Epstein cover up, which was egregious and blatant. And Trump participated in that. And there's going to be no prosecutions of any of the people that were the customers of this trafficking operation. You just have Ghislaine and Epstein, and that's it. And it's like, this is not good enough. This is a system that is not functioning in a way that delivers justice, so much so that the average American does not expect justice anymore. And once you get to that point, it's just chaos. I mean, nobody has any reason to respect the legal system, the laws in this country, because if the rich and powerful aren't held to account, well, then fuck you if you're going to try and hold me to account. And they should feel that way. I mean, that's honestly, like, if it doesn't apply to the rich and powerful, why should we honor this system any longer? So I think we need a tremendous amount of reform. People like Randy Fine he's not really my focus here. My focus is on much bigger things, but we need real reformers. We need people that really care about this country, about the Constitution, about the national debt. And are we going to actually have a country moving forward that focuses on Americans first or not? And the answer is, if we continue on the current paradigm or the current trajectory, the answer is no.
I think that this is, and what I will say, and this is what Jen, I think you would probably agree. This revelation regarding the whole Russiagate situation, and we obviously have had, we're very friendly with Matt Taibbi. He's been on a handful of times. He has been very adamant that this is one of the driving wedges that has divided the country, especially for the past decade. That this was a complete, alphabet agency cover up to the fact that they could never have anticipated that Trump was going to win. They were able to knock Bernie off because Bernie wasn't willing to fight the way that he should have in 2016, but Trump was willing to fight, and he ended up winning in a way that I don't think they expected, so they had to do something. And so now that Trump is caught up with the whole Epstein-Israel scandal, they have to throw red meat out there to basically say, okay, well, you want the truth about something else, we're going to give it to you. Not good enough, but 100% with what Tulsi says here, I agree with, and Jen, I think you would probably agree. So let's play this quickly.
One that doesn't just affect Democrats or Republicans. It's not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is an issue with such significant impact that it should concern every American, because it has to do with the fabric and integrity of our democratic republic. That we had a situation here where in the months leading up to the 2016 election, the intelligence community assessed, and this is what the documents detail, the intelligence community assessed essentially Russia doesn't have the tools, the capability, or the intent to try to change the outcome of the U.S. presidential election. Donald Trump pulls off a historic victory against Hillary Clinton in November of 2016. Even in the days after that election, the intelligence community continued their consistent assessment that reflected the same thing in the months leading up to the election. all of a sudden, in the early days of December, there was a president's daily brief that was drafted. This is put together by the different elements of the intelligence community that reflected that same assessment. Russia did not try to hack the election, in essence. That PDB, that document, was pulled hours before it was supposed to be published for the president to see that following morning. That document was never published until we released it yesterday. One day later, President Obama calls a meeting of his National Security Council, his top officials, to be held on what they called a sensitive topic. And the results of that meeting, which we released yesterday, and these over 100 documents that talk about in detail how President Obama and his team, he directed a manufactured piece of intelligence that detailed not if, but how Russia tried to influence
the one thing I'm going to say, and the one thing that we should be clear about, I really am tired of people saying, Obama did this, Obama did that. It's like, no, he is just a figurehead. Obama is not. Clint, did you ever see that old SNL clip of Phil Hartman playing Ronald Reagan as the mastermind? Do you remember that one?
I'm sure I have seen it, but I don't remember it.
It's so great, but it basically mocks this whole idea that somehow, he's the mastermind of all these things that are going on. We have a shadow government that is owned and operated by corporate special interests. And if their interest wasn't to have Trump in power, they were going to do everything in their power to ensure that Hillary Clinton won, or at least if she didn't win, they were going to sabotage his entire presidency. I think that's true.
And I think that this case basically led to, well, along with the Maidan Revolution, I think it also led to the war in Ukraine. So this was, that puts us on the precipice of World War III, if not nuclear war, if not nuclear holocaust. Like this is about as big as it gets. I mean, as much as I care about the Epstein case, and I care about it tremendously because I think it's a blackmail operation against, the political elite. This is right up there with it, if not bigger. And it's just devastating that there's really no optimism in this country that we will see justice on either front. And that has to change. I mean, it just has to.
One of the things, Jen, I'm sure you remember, and I have no problem bringing this up now, at the time when we're first getting into politics, you think about the third rail and the things that you can't talk about, like Seth Rich. The story about Seth Rich, which I think is a much deeper than just him, because I have no doubt he's the leaker.
Are you finally allowing me to talk about Seth Rich? You've been telling me I can't talk about Seth Rich for 10 years.
Well, I didn't want our channel to get shut down. That was my own.
Okay.
So, but what I would like to hear your thoughts on, Jen, is not just Seth Rich, but people don't know this. And this is why I knew from the very beginning that the Russiagate, from the second they went down this road, it was obvious that this was all bullshit, completely. And I didn't even know about the Steele dossier, which just adds to it. There was an attorney in South Florida that was investigating Wasserman Schultz and the Seth Rich connection. And he ended up dead on Hollywood Beach with 2 bullets in the back of his head. And that is still a case in Hollywood, Florida, that is unsolved. So the fact that it hasn't been addressed for a decade, and everyone knows what that attorney was up to, and ended up dead with 2 gunshot wounds. To me, it's don't ever talk to me about any of this other shit unless you're going to talk about what the real shit is. Jen, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's just interesting how these things just go away. There's never accountability. There is so rarely accountability at any level for any of it, whether it's why would the U.S. attorney that was investigating the issue in Broward about the election issue with Debbie and Brenda Snipes wash up dead on the beach in a suit. It's like, and yet there was no investigation into it, really. If you go look it up, you'll see very little about it. There's really not a whole lot. It's just like this random thing. And there's no accountability there. And there's no accountability for somebody like Seth Rich, who was mugged without anybody taking anything off of him. A lot of things like that. So why, and we don't have accountability. There's not going to be anything regarding the Epstein files. We don't have accountability from the JFK assassination.
Well, I'll give you another one red meat to your audience is the 2008 banking crisis. The fact that, none of the bankers go to prison for that,
Yeah.
despite the fact that they were, and I would add that it shouldn't just be the private level bankers. Fed chairs ought to be facing prosecutions. You ought to have the GSEs, the government sponsored enterprises, when it comes to Fannie and Freddie, who were basically signing off on, and the rating agencies when they're signing off on AAA on what is ultimately, BBB minus credit rating risk stuff that ultimately destroyed the entire global economy. Like, no, there is no justice at the highest levels. That's why I'm kind of formulating what my talking points will be about if I end up running. And I guess that's a big one for me, because it's just a very high priority for me, that I think that unless we can get a system that actually holds the powerful to account, particularly the political elite, it's like, well, then nothing's going to change. If you can't get these people behind bars, nothing will change. And it's unfortunate, because I don't have any faith in Donald Trump doing that, and nor the rest of his cabinet. And I'm sure you guys feel similarly.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, this is a global problem, because we're hosting war criminals. You want to talk about not holding people accountable. We're having somebody here who's wanted by the International Criminal Court for war crimes, and we're hosting him here and giving him a standing ovation. So, when you're not seeing accountability, and something you had touched on before that I thought was interesting, when you talk about, why would people follow rules when nobody follows the rules? Like, why would anybody have to follow rules? And I think that is a huge thing in this country. Like, we are in violation of so many international laws, us and the state of Israel. Okay. We are too, independent of them. And so when you're a country, a nation that's a rogue nation, and you don't abide by international law, then why would you expect there to be lawfulness at home?